One of the biggest announcements as of late was that the RTX 3060 is coming, poised to give consumers an affordable graphics card with ray tracing for the low price of $329 MSRP. What even is that anymore? Whether it will actually even be sold for that is another question entirely. What is worth noting is that we won't actually be seeing a Founders Edition from Nvidia, and the AIBs will have to do all of the hard work themselves. But will this mean even less cards will be around when it launches? This could get very, very messy. Anyone who ordered a 30 series card at launch, whether it be a 3090, 3080, or even on the lower, more kind of mainstream end, 3070 or 3060 Ti, may know, well, you know, the struggles of having your money taken from you and with nothing to show for it. I mean, you may have got lucky and have been enjoying it as one of the early adopters, but for some people, they're still waiting. 4 months on. So who is to blame? Well, lots of people. Nvidia for one, shipping delays for another, even down to distribution and retailers for artificially inflating the pricing. Sadly, this is pretty much the case for all models of cards, whether it be a Founders Edition or even something more custom. Now you have to remember, some people aren't keen on AIB cards and instead they wanted to plump for the oh so sleek design that a Founders Edition gives. But sadly, when it comes to the RTX 3060, that simply may not be an option. Sources close to Nvidia are claiming that the RTX 3060 will not be coming in a Founders Edition flavour, and instead, custom AIB designs may pretty much be the only choice. But Andy, I've seen images on the Nvidia website that clearly shows an RTX 3060. Now, while this may be true, it just seems like these are actually more than likely 3D renders of what the card would look like, but we'll never actually really see the light of day in terms of a physical product. At the moment, this is still some form of speculation, and I'm struggling to see why Nvidia would do this in the first place. Is it because they just don't see the RTX 3060 as important enough to make a big deal out of? Though on the flip side, you do have to still remember that the GTX 1060 is still the most popular gaming card according to the Steam survey, followed by the 1050 Ti, and in my opinion, that seems like the RTX 3060 could be the perfect upgrade path for those types of users. So if it does come down to having the option for a custom card, what brand and model will you likely be going for? Asus, MSI, Palette, Gigabyte? There's so many to choose from. Speaking of Gigabyte, they've just unveiled their Aorus branded Gen 4 7000S NVMe M.2 drive. As the name suggests, because, you know, these companies are really clever here, it has up to 7 GB per second read speeds with no thermal throttling. Sounds interesting. I mean, none? At all? Utilising a combination of the newest 12nm Phison E18 8-channel controller, high-speed 3D TLC NAND and an SLC cache, along with the oodles of bandwidth that PCI Express 4.0 gives, read speeds of up to 7 GB a second and write speeds of 6.85 GB per second were accomplished, meaning that it's pretty much twice as fast as a PCI Express 3.0 NVMe drive and up to a whopping 13 times faster than a conventional SATA SSD. Now, to combat thermal throttling, as we know, Gen 4 drives can get a little bit toasty, the drive has a specially designed double-sided aluminium heatsink with nanocarbon coating. I love when products like this come out, they sound so like space agey. Nanocarbon. They've also equipped the drive with a high conductivity thermal pad, which is said to improve heat dissipation by up to around 30% better than a conventional thermal pad. Basically, the cooler the drive can run, the longer it can run at its max speeds to give max performance! So to get these blistering fast speeds, you will have to plump for the larger 2TB capacity, which likely is not going to be cheap. But a 1TB SKU will be available, but the write speed will be 5500 megabytes a second instead, which is still more than enough for the average consumer who likely, probably, definitely won't even notice it. One thing that you would likely notice is DDR5. Yes, more information has come out regarding the next generation memory platform. While Intel are focusing on Rocket Lake S and Z590 and trying to undo all of the hard work that AMD have done, I mean, you know, good luck to them. You'll have to wait a couple of months to see how that pans out. That aside, a lot more people are actually excited at the prospect of Alder Lake S and what it can offer. A leak, albeit quite small, has come out showing potentially a 16-core 32-thread based system reportedly running on consumer-grade DDR5. Not much else is really known, short of speculation that a big little CPU concept could come back into play, giving consumers high load and low load core allocation for more optimal task management. I mean, I'm kind of torn about that. You'll probably be expecting this to be in conjunction with a Windows 10 update that will likely screw over every single application or game that you've typically run. So you have that wonderful, amazing can of worms to deal with too. Fun! So what else does this tell us, Andy? Well, the key important thing is that it shows that Intel may, keyword there, may actually be making headway to a smaller fabrication process and finally ditching 14 nanometer plus. Did I get it right this time? Seriously though, having a refresh or an update is one thing, but having a completely new platform with new processors, new sockets, and the introduction of DDR5, it may just be the saving grace that Intel need to compete with AMD. I mean, as the saying goes, and we all know it, go big or go home. Speaking of big, if you like your drinks big and to stay at the right temperature that you want, then you'll definitely be wanting these, the eTeknix Smart Thermos, and you'll be wanting them in your life. With a 500ml capacity, intelligent temperature sensor, and an LCD display that will tell you how hot or cold your drink is, you'd be a fool not to have one of these in your life. You can get yours from store.eteknix.com or by clicking the link in the description below, available in black and white.